Hello YouTube, welcome to RC Buggy Bash, and I'm Jason, and this is a Tamiya CC01 Pajero. The CC01 is a well-established chassis. I think it's still available at the moment. I don't think it's been discontinued as such, but they are more difficult to find. They have been superseded by the CC02, which one of the main differences is that this is a solid axle rear and a fully independent front suspension chassis, whereas the CC02 is solid axle on front and back. Other than that, I haven't looked into the CC02 huge amount, so I don't know if there's any significant differences of the chassis inside. I went for the Pajero because I love the body shell. If I had a choice of a real car, I would love to be able to get a Mitsubishi Pajero. I think they're awesome, especially the short wheel-based ones, which this is. I've just done it classic white with the Tamiya decals. I'm going to add some of my own soon. This is a build that's been around. I've had this for a good few years now. Did some light trail driving with it a couple of summers ago. Nothing major. Just after I did the build, I wanted to take it out. Got it so I could drive this around when my wife and I went and took the dog for a walk. So I'm hoping to pick that up again this summer now that we have another dog. He's 6 months old today, actually. 23rd of February. Yes, he's 6 months old today, little Luca. Anyway, I'll take you around the chassis a little bit so you can see what's going on. So, very scale looking car. Again, really nicely engineered. That's one of the things that Tamiya, I think, still do exceedingly well. And some other companies are now, doing similar things. Traxxas, they brought out their trail cars, and they have a very scale looking chassis as well. This is your classic ABS bathtub monocoque chassis. It has multiple areas that you can put body mounts on for all the different body shells you can get for these, which there are dozens that will fit this, which makes it a really nice scale trail car. It's not a rock crawler. By design, it is more of a scale doodle around rather than a competition kind of trail car. This one especially, because it is independent and solid, you really want them to be solid axle both ends. I might get a CC02 in the future to see how that runs, but I loved building this. It's a really, really nice build. It has, as I said, great engineering, center mounted motor. I've got a 55 turn HPI in there at the moment. So with things like trail driving and stuff, you want to go high turn because they're more torque, and that means you get more punch. Low turn means more speed. So buggies and touring cars, they're in the 15 to 20 turn kind of area. Some go down to even 6 turn. Rock crawling, you want to go higher. I don't think you go much higher than the 50s. I think some people might have a 60 odd turn motor, but the 55 was great. Gives this a lot of pulling power to get it over and up hills and things like that. So big torque. I've got an HPI ESC in there. It's a slightly better than the rebranded 1060. And my Fly Sky receiver. This is on my 10 car handset, so it's I can drive it with multiple cars. A fairly high torque servo as well, to be able to push the wheels around and get it through the terrain that you're traversing on. So fairly simple setup on the inside, very accessible to be able to get to things. Even the diffs and stuff, there's only 2 or 3 screws that you have to work on to be able to take off the diff covers to actually get into the main diffs. Obviously the back diff is on the solid axle, so it's a separate unit anyway, but again, it's not that difficult to be able to get in. Just take the wheels off, take the shocks off, and then you can actually get into the diff. And it's a nice scale looking car no matter what you do with it. It looks really nice. I've got CVAs on here, just the classic Tamiyas. They work well. I think I've over damped this. From what I remember when I was driving it, it's still a little bit too stiff to be able to do trail driving. So I might need to go into here and really soften the suspension. It's just that little bit too hard. It's nice, doesn't feel bad at all, and it still has quite a lot of articulation. I don't know if you can see how that's rolling. So it's got nice articulation to it, but I think they're just a little bit too hard, especially the rear suspension. That feels quite punchy. It needs to soften down and probably have more droop. So I might look into that. I'm definitely going to change the tires, the wheels and the tires. These look nice from a scale point of view. They're so hard, and they have no foam inserts or anything like that. They're really tough rubber. I have used them a little bit, and that they don't have that grip that you want on a trail car. So there'll be some things I'll be changing. My rig is basically the bog standard 4-point articulation on the rear chassis. I do have an upgrade kit for this that I might put on at some point, but it's there for when it gets too dirty and too messed up, so I can then replace them with the fancy bits at some point. So yeah, solid axle at the rear, double wishbone at the front. And what I've done with this one as well, this has it's got the standard diff action, so they're not locked, but I've got diff putty in there, which when it drives, it's a bit stiffer, so I get better drive. And the rear axle, the rear drivetrain, is fully locked, so that's completely locked. There's no slip at all. They will only go the same way at the same time, and that gives you a lot of traction. So keeping the diff at the front slippy, keeping that locked, gives me the kind of the best of both worlds. As I said, it's a lovely thing to build. It really was fun. It was on my wish list for a long time. You can get a lot of hop-ups and upgrades for this. You can get aftermarket parts by Tamiya, you can get third-party setups, you can make the car longer, you can go a little bit shorter with it. And if you're into something a bit more sedated, a bit slower, then trail driving is probably something for you. And it's a growing trend. There are clubs now forming all over the place that want to do trail driving rather than buggy racing and stuff, and it is a more social activity. This, when it's running, even with a standard NIMI battery, I think that's only a 7.4 volt, might even be just a 2000, that will last an hour, because you're only doing a couple of miles an hour at any one time. It's a slow and steady kind of part of the hobby. So lipos in these cars can last for hours. You can get a whole afternoon of driving without having to take chargers and all that kind of stuff with you. You just have to put the battery in the car, turn it on, and you'll get a couple of hours driving with it. And yeah, it's a nice relaxing way to spend an afternoon. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that this year. I don't know if I mentioned it, I would have taken it out possibly today to have a shotty, because I knew I was going to be doing this video, and I thought, oh, it might be nice to drive, but it threw it down, absolutely bucketed it down, monsoon style. You could not see for rain, so that ended that. So maybe the next couple of weeks we'll see what happens. Spring's surely just around the corner. It feels like it's been February all year. Anyway, excuse me. Tamiya CC01, great car. Lots of options, lots of opportunity for nice, relaxing days out, tooling around up trails, or even on beaches, even though I never drive on sand. I hate the stuff. Gets in your hair, gets in your teeth. Hopefully get some driving footage of this as well as the rest of my cars. And that'll be coming soon. So if you want something a bit slower paced than a buggy, then look into a crawler. And there's lots of them now. I wouldn't just say look into the Tamiya CC range. The FTX Crichtons, the Outbacks, you've got Exhale, Traxxas now do them. You can find China kind of OEM versions for very little money, and you can get some really nice 1/18 scale crawlers as well. HPI have just released their new venture, which looks incredibly good. That's on my wish list too. So the crawling side of RC hobbies is becoming much bigger. There's clubs all over the place now, picking up all over, well, especially in Scotland. There's several just quite close to me now. Have a look on Facebook and see where you can find a club that can do crawling. Or, like I want to do, take this out when you take the dog for a walk. Or even if you just want to go for a walk in a forest. Take a car with you. Take this for a walk in the forest. It'd be great. There we go. As always, stay safe. Thank you for watching and have fun with RC. Bye now.